3, 2, 1. Hey everyone. So one of the most frequently asked questions from my students is what should I do to warm up, specifically on 4-mallet marimba. So I thought I would just show the footage of just a normal warm-up routine before I start a practice session. The first thing I do, which is also one of the most important things, is stretching. Stretching will help you ensure that you do not injure yourself while you're playing. I usually just do an up and down extension as you're seeing here, and because I have horrible posture, I will also stretch out my back before I play. The first actual exercise I do is just double verticals in fifths. Right here, I'm kind of alternating. I do right hand, then both, and then left hand. If you want, you can play all of them together the whole time, or you can switch up the interval as I will do later. I just find that a fifth is really comfortable in my hands. In my warm-up, I usually do slow to fast in all of my exercises, just because I like to have my technique feel the difference between tempos. But if you're newer to the 4-mallet technique, feel free to just keep this all at one tempo, preferably with a metronome. Like I mentioned before, you can do any of these exercises in whatever interval you want. Here's a perfect example of that same exercise using fourths instead of fifths. The next thing I'll do is double verticals in octaves to stretch out my hands. If you are not comfortable with octaves immediately after your first interval, you can increase it. So if you start at a fifth, you'll jump to a sixth, do the whole exercise again, then a seventh, and then the octave. This is one of my favorite exercises because it looks way easier than it is. Instead of just focusing on that up and down movement of the double vertical, we're also starting to implement body movement as we're moving between arpeggiated chords. Also, our intervals in each hand move as we go up and down the arpeggiation. So if you're newer to the technique, you might want to take this one super slow at first. Next, I do single independent strokes. I do them here together, meaning mallet 1 and mallet 4 are together, and mallet 2 and mallet 3 are together. If you want, you could totally do this each mallet separately. So going from far left to far right to far left, whatever you want to do. Next, I do alternating independent strokes. Feel free to do this at any tempo, any interval, and also hand separate. Next, I did a 1, 2, 3, 4 permutation. You could do a 4, 3, 2, 1 and get the same effect. Sometimes I go between the two. Really, I'm trying to feel the difference in my hands between doing those slow versus doing them faster. The last thing I did here is a triple lateral exercise, also from slow to fast, so you're working on the transition between tempos. In all honesty, I don't do this one every time I warm up. This is just a kind of special occasion because I'm working on a piece that needs this kind of technique in it. And I totally recommend that you do the same thing. If you're working on a piece that has, let's say, a really hard permutation, add that into your daily warm-up. It will get your hands ready to play that same permutation in your practice session. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the bare bones of what I do, and it might change every now and then. I hope this helped, and let me know if you do some other stuff. Maybe I'll do a video on that.